the rhythm of the night. The story continues. Radio Theatre presents Part 2 of the last song of Ethan Russo. There are some lies so convenient that the world accepts them before they're even fully spoken. Suicide was one of those lies. Not for everyone, mind you. Just for the people who desperately needed it to be true. The police needed it. The newspapers needed it. Half the city needed it. See, a dead jazz musician was a tragedy, but a murdered jazz musician was a problem. And Chicago already had enough problems to fill the lake. By the afternoon after Ethan Russo's death, the narrative had already begun to harden like wet cement. No signs of struggle, no witnesses. A troubled artist, a lonely room, and a terrible decision. Case closed. At least, that's what Captain Edward Grady fed to the reporters. The papers printed the gospel, the city nodded, and life kept moving. But not for Evelyn Whitmore. The funeral came 3 days later beneath a heavy sky, the color of dirty steel. Musicians filled the back pews, club owners stood near the doors, and women Ethan had loved stood right alongside the ones who merely wished they'd had the chance. Even the men who hated him showed up. That's the thing about death in this city. It makes rivals sentimental. It even forces your enemies to pretend they care for a moment to save face. Evelyn sat through the service without speaking, without crying, without moving.
Only once did she break.
A young trumpet player, a kid who couldn't have been older than 16, approached the casket. He placed a worn brass mouthpiece beside Ethan's folded hands and whispered 2 words. "Thanks, boss." After that, Evelyn looked away. Some grief is just too heavy to watch. By dark, most of Chicago had already begun the grand tradition of forgetting. But Evelyn was haunted by the last conversation she'd shared with Ethan 2 nights before the freeze. They'd been walking beside the river as the snow drifted through the streetlights. For once, Ethan seemed distracted, carrying a weight he couldn't put down.
What's wrong, Ethan?
You ever feel like you spend your whole life running from a shadow?
Every single day.
He smiled at that, but it was a tired, joyless thing.
I found something.
Something my old man left behind. When she asked what it was, he just shook his head and whispered, "Not yet."
Not yet.
The phrase rattled in her head like a loose tooth. Men planning a future don't swallow a bullet. Men carrying dangerous secrets don't kill themselves the day before they pull back the curtain. No, something was foul. 3 days after the funeral, Evelyn stood outside a narrow office on the 2nd floor of a crumbling downtown brick building. The paint was peeling. The hallway smelled of stale cigarettes and burnt coffee, and the brass plaque read, "Jack Ashcroft, private investigator." Inside sat a man who looked exactly like someone who made a living digging through the city's garbage. Jack Ashcroft wasn't old, but he looked tired enough to be. His suit had seen better decades, and judging by the expression on his face, so had he. When Evelyn entered, he didn't even look up from his desk. "If you're selling something, lady, I can't afford it."
because a man was murdered.
I'm here because a man was murdered.
Ashcroft finally leaned back, his chair groaning.
The papers say he took a dive.
The papers are paid to be wrong.
For a long moment, the room went dead silent. Ashcroft studied her. The expensive furs, the perfect posture, and the hollow exhaustion behind her eyes. But finally, he asked the only question that mattered. Who was he?
His name was Ethan Russo.
Ashcroft nodded slowly. Everybody knew the name. What he didn't know yet was that Russo's death was a tripwire. It was about to lead him through dark jazz clubs, crooked political offices, backroad bootlegging ruts, and enough buried corruption to set the whole city on fire. The next morning, Jack Ashcroft opened the official police file on Ethan Russo's. And the very first thing he discovered was that someone had already torn out the pages.
That's all for tonight, friends. But the story isn't over yet. Until next time, keep a place for us on your dial. And remember, Chicago forgets, but the land remembers. This is your radio theater host wishing you a good evening.